All right, so let's one thing I want to get into real quick. I just want to say uh this episode is brought to you by JP Custom Ink. If you anything you need, if you need t-shirts, hats, pins, socks, you name it, hit up JP Custom Ink. All right. All right, one thing I want to say, we had a video on our channel that was posted 13 days ago. It's got some views, some comments, which we appreciate. So I do want to say thank you to everybody who said anything, who clicked the like, who viewed it, who shared it. I just want to say we appreciate it, and hopefully we can keep uh, doing this, and you guys support. And like I said, we do appreciate it. And I also want to say that video that kind of got some traction was because of we were talking about the podcast called The Pivot and also I Am Athlete. So shout outs to both of their fans as well, because a lot of people had a lot of things to say, but it wasn't disrespectful. It was more giving critique, what they wanted to see, what they liked about the podcast, and what they liked on the new podcast. So everything was respectful. So I appreciate that a lot. Um, and I think we should, this is going to sound crazy, pivot. I think you know that was coming. Let's pivot and just talk about, because there's a lot of things coming out now when it
Yeah.
comes to what happened, the relationship, what happened to the pod. Um, I know we don't want to beat this thing to death, but it's something that people are talking about, and people are invested in both of podcasts, and I think it's something that we should talk about. I don't know if you saw the Bussin' Boys episode, Gio.
Yeah, I saw I didn't watch the whole episode, but you know how like they break it down into like 10-minute clips, throughout their stuff. So
Hmm.
I watched the specific clip that they were answering the questions about what happened, right? Getting more into details on how it all went down. They added more to what they had said from their podcast, their first pivot podcast that they did. So they added a little bit more detail that I was pretty surprised that they brought out now because
Yeah,
there's little differences from what they said before to what they're saying now, or additions, I should say.
yeah. I mean, I get it though, because like Fred was saying, you know, the podcast took off. So it was like there was no time to like, yo, this is what we're doing. This is the structure. So these are the people that's on it. These are the people who owns this. This is what's going to be happening. And I can see where that can get cloudy and kind of, go left real quick, because once they see the numbers too, it's like, hey, we got to figure out who owns what, and
Right.
what's the title of me, this person, that person. So I can see where that went left a little bit. But I saw today where Fred called Brandon bad business Brandon. I thought that was tough, man. I think I think Fred should have left that alone a little bit, even though they're being asked, because it
Right.
seems like they're doing some kind of,
Yeah. How you answer matter. Right.
yeah, man. Because I don't know. I expected Fred to be better than that though. Like, just let it go. I know you're being asked everywhere now, because that podcast is taking off. Um, I know that a lot of people went to I Am Athlete and they noticed that they're putting their video at the same time as the pivot is dropping their videos. Now it's like a thing. So I don't know if that's why maybe Fred is just putting it out there. I don't know.
Well,
Possibly.
if I can add a little bit, because my take is this: one, we don't know, right? And the
Yeah.
reason why we're talking about it is not to like ride off their coattails, essentially, but because we
Yeah.
are both fans of both of those shows, right? Like it impacted us just as much. The reason why it exploded was because of the content, right? And how it became so good, and that's the reason why we like it. We talk about it because we like it, right? It's like having your favorite sport team or your celebrity that you like to follow. Like we like the podcast thing, so I did notice that there was a change in their tone, right? And it could be for a lot of reasons, right? One reason that I can speculate is when they first came out and it was the first episode, they were like, we take the high road. And they were very cryptic and very vague about what went down. They made it seem like, yeah, the business wasn't buttoned down. They said that a few times, right? Like they didn't button down the business to get it all down. They didn't know that it was going to blow up the way that it did. So
Right.
the fame and the attention and the size grew beyond what they had planned originally, right? So they talk about that. Um, but they were very humble about the reason why they left. Both OG and Shan both said in their own way, like briefly on that first episode. But then all of a sudden this week they're coming out. You said, they called them Triple B, right? Bad business Brandon, which is that's not high road, right? And I
Yeah.
agree, like that's not the route they should have made. And then another thing that I heard Chan say was Brandon doesn't like people, right? So clearly, I think it was two things. It was the money situation fell off when they blew up the way that they did, and they talked about how last summer of 2021, they came back together to kind of like rehash things and figure out where they're at because the business had grown so big and like out of control. And then they realized Brandon had most of the creative control, most of the financial investment. They weren't partners. They were partners, not owners, right?
Right.
So it was definitely a money thing and it was definitely a business thing. I think more importantly, it was a personal thing where they came together as boys and all of a sudden the money became more, the fame became more, and then it became separate. We're partners, but not co-owners. And I think that's where it was. But I think why, I'll keep it short here. I think one of the reasons why is I can speculate is when they came out on the high road on the first episode, they didn't know how many people were going to possibly go with them, right? When they
Yeah.
knew after like a couple of episodes went in, oh, we're getting the same number, we're getting we don't need to be as high road as we need to. That's one
Right.
speculation, right? The second one is maybe they continue to talk with the people from I Am Athlete. I don't want to specific because I know it's more than just Brandon. We tend to say Brandon, but it's more than them, right?
Right.
They continue to talk or lack thereof, or continue to quote unquote having beef, right? So probably something got worse from when they came out the first time. Maybe it is like it's the space fighting, right? Why you gotta why you gotta release your content the same hour and day that I released my content, if that's the fact, right? So maybe something happened from then to now that it's like now the gloves are off.
Right.
So to rehash, it's either they realize, oh, we could do it without, being nice because we got all the people, right? Or it was things got worse and now the gloves are off because they're hitting uh, I'm athlete pretty hard and
Yeah.
Brandon specifically.
Yeah, but it almost feels like, I call up Gio. That's my boy. We're going to this party. It's gonna be off the hook, right? You're my plus one. We get there, and you're like, "What's Tech? I'm somewhere, right? I'm
Yeah,
somewhere. I probably left and just left you there. That's what it feels like. Like we came together, we're doing something, and then all of a sudden it's like, yo, what? You pulled a rug under me. Like,
yeah,
what's all of this? I think it's more than just. Um, I think it's. I think it's more than just we didn't have the business tighten up. It sounds good, but I think it's probably more than that. I think Brandon probably went ahead and started signing things. It's under my company and my name, and next thing they're like, bro,
yeah,
what are we? We came
yeah,
in this together day
right.
one.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I just listen, man. I will say we're fans of both. I listen to both equally. Whoever's got an episode out, I'm listening.
Right,
Just
me
the
too.
same.
Right,
So to me, I think both of those guys got something good going. But we'll see where this goes from here.
yeah. um One more thing on that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught it, I think you did, but I've noticed, since the split up or the breakup or and all that, haven't you noticed the word pivot being mentioned in both podcasts by guests and the hosts themselves? Marshawn Lynch was just on Pivot. He
Right.
said pivot twice, right? So, and then there was, I can't remember. I think it was one of the more recent episodes on I Am Athlete. They said pivot too. Just imagine, if you
Yeah.
can, for a second, if you're if you're Brandon Marshall, and people keep saying it, right? And it's got to trigger him a little bit, right? It's like your girlfriend left you for a guy named Brad, and you're with your friends, and they're like, "Hey, man, that's a Brad move," right? And then you think Brad, like, damn, Jennifer left me for Brad. Like, people keep saying that word because now it's a popular word. Believe it or not, it's perfect. Either it sounds like they brought that word into popularity, right? Because nobody was really using it like that,
Yeah, and I think what makes that word stick out even more, it's the fact that they came from one situation and they pivot.
right?
So it just sounds good. Yeah, I think Brandon Marshall don't want to hear anybody say pivot. I don't care if you're talking about basketball. Like your pivot footage, no, we
Yeah,
don't pivot.
I I guarantee you it's going to happen at least one more time, or at least he's briefing them. Hey, you say pivot, this interview's over.
I think he's probably said pivot himself, and then he just
I
edited the
Yeah,
whole thing.
like it's just a thing. I just thought it was interesting, and it's very funny that people are doing that, and it's just like I can imagine that it triggers them in one way or another on that. But
Yeah. So I just be chilling with a girl on the couch, like, you want to pivot to the bedroom? You know what I'm saying? Let's pivot this whole thing, man. But it is a good word, though, man. And the whole thing just makes sense. I think that's why that word sticks out. Even, the logo, everything's just good. But
yeah, it's
follow
clean. Yeah,
both, man. Watch both, listen to both, because you're going to get jewels from both of them, no matter if you like this person or you don't like this person. At the end of the day, if you really listen, you can get jewels even from you know someone you don't like. So I think just listening, you can get jewels from both podcasts. I think they're going to be good. Um, and I think they have J.R. Smith coming up, and I can't wait for that one. I think that one's going to be pretty good. I saw I would say 60-second clip. It's Brandon by himself. I wish he had his crew with him, like Chad and what's that running back? What's his name?
the running back. Um,
Yeah, uh, you know who the guy played for Eagles there. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. I think Pete was asking for him too.
talking about
McCoy,
Shady.
Shady
Shady.
McCoy.
Oh yeah. I think
Yeah.
Shady would be great, but he's not like officially like one of the hosts or anything, right?
No, he was just a guest, and people
Yeah,
just
I think
liked
he'd be
him.
great. Yeah, he's got a great personality, man. I think he definitely livens it up. He adds a little bit of wild card element to it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
uh, Brandon's a little bit more buttoned up to a degree, right? Like as far as form, he wants to stick to it, and
yeah,
Shady is like kind of wild with it. You know what I mean? In a good way. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I
So
mean, it's you got. It's good to have that wild card, man. Something that you're just sitting there having a conversation. You're like, wait, what did you just say? So it adds to the podcast. So